Okay, so we are ready to get started with our project. In your materials, you're going to find the yarn that you need to finish this project, but you're also going to see that I've already started our magic ring, which is the beginning of any project. If for some reason you get lost later and you have to restart everything and you need to do another magic ring, please look on YouTube. There are a lot of great videos on there on how to do a magic ring. Another thing that you can do is make sure that you come back and you count 6 stitches, which we'll talk about in a second. So as we're getting started, let's go ahead and talk about our stitch markers that we have here. So we have a stitch marker on our left and we have a stitch marker on our right. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pull out this stitch marker on our right gently. So you can see if I pull, our loop is getting bigger. This is where I would have technically left off if I was in the middle of crocheting and maybe I had to walk away for a minute and I wanted to make sure that my project was saved from being pulled. I would put a stitch marker in this stitch. So I'm going to unhook this stitch marker here and I'm going to lay this to the side. I like to leave my stitch markers open for ease of use if I need to use them again. I'm going to take my crochet hook and I'm just going to put it in that hook, that loop that our hook was in, and I'm going to give the other side of the string a gentle pull. I'm also going to start positioning my yarn on my hand the way that I showed in our video with the blue yarn. I'm going to go over our pinky, around, and then lay it over my index. And then I use my thumb to hold my project to my index finger. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this orange stitch marker. And the purpose of this orange stitch marker is to mark the stitch that would begin our next row. So I will consistently be putting a stitch into the first stitch of our next row. So I'm going to take this out and slide it off and put it to the side, opened. So we are ready to get started on our first stitch of our second row. So our first stitch is supposed to be an increasing stitch. An increasing stitch is just a single crochet that is done twice into one stitch. To know what a stitch is or what we're looking at when I say a stitch, we are going to try to find this V. You can see that we have a few of those around, so we should have 6. So here's our first V, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here is our 6th one. So those are stitches. So we're going to start with our increasing stitch. In order to do this, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to slide it under that stitch. Again, we said that a stitch is the V. So you can see that we have our first stitch, the V, and our original yarn on our hook. We are going to go under the yarn and over like we did in our practice. And we are going to pull it underneath both of those pieces of yarn that create this stitch. And now we have 2 pieces of yarn on our hook. We are now going to go under our yarn, over our yarn with our hook, and then we're going to pull through. And that is a single crochet. Before I do anything else, I'm going to take a stitch marker and I am going to slide it under that new stitch that I just made to show you how I do it. I'm going to take my hook out and gently let go of my yarn so I don't pull my project, and I'm just going to clip it closed. That is how we know where we will be starting our third row. I'm going to put my hook back through, tighten it, and then get my yarn around my hands. For us to do an increasing stitch, we are now going to do another single crochet in that same stitch. So you're going to do the same thing. You're going to find the stitch that you just crocheted into, slide your hook under. Again, we have our stitch on our hook and our original piece of yarn on our hook, under, over, and you are going to pull through until you have 2 pieces of yarn on your hook. You're going to go under, hook over, and pull through again. That is an increasing stitch. We are going to do that all the way around this first row. So I'm going to go under and over, pull through, under, over, pull through. There's our first part of our increase. This is our second increase. So I should have 4 stitches, which I do. And we're going to continue that all the way around until we have 12 stitches. Okay, so we have arrived back to our purple stitch marker, which tells us that that is where row 3 is going to start. If I'm a new crocheter, I want to take a moment before I go to my next round, and I want to count out my stitches of the previous round that I just did to make sure that I did it correctly. So I'm going to take my hook out, and I'm going to use this other stitch marker that we had, and I'm going to slide it through and close it. You can keep it pulled open like this, or you can pull it tighter. It doesn't matter, because we're just going to use it to hold our project while we count. So again, we are going to count these V's here to make sure that we have the right amount of stitches. And in this row, we should be ending with 12. So let's count. I'm going to use my hook to help me point these out for us. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And if I move my finger and the stitch marker, we have 12. So we have the right amount of stitches, which means that we are ready to start on row 3. To get started again, I'm going to go ahead and take off the stitch marker, gently pull it out, put it to the side, put my hook back in, pull it tighter, set my yarn, and now I'm ready to start on round 3. When I go to start on round 3, I will unhook my stitch marker, put it to the side, and we are going to get started with our first stitch of round 3, which is another increasing stitch. So we're going to do the same thing we did in the last row. Under our first stitch, under, over, pull, under, over, pull. Don't forget to pause for 1 second and slide that stitch marker underneath the first stitch of this row so you don't forget where you're at. And we are going to finish off our increasing stitch. There is our first increasing stitch. The next stitch is now a single crochet, which is much like our increasing, but we're only going to do 1 stitch in this next one. So we're going to go under our stitch, under, over, pull through until we have our 2 pieces of yarn on our hook, under, over, pull through, and that is a single crochet. We're going to move to our next stitch, and we are going to do another increasing. If it helps you to keep track of where you're at, I like to count them out in my own way. So for this one, I'm on a single, so I usually will tell myself single. Let's fix our yarn right here. And then for the increasing, I will tell myself increase 1, increase 2, and I know that I've done my 2 singles for my increasing because I said 1 and 2. Now I'm ready to move on to my single, single, increase 1, increase 2, moving on to my single, increase 1, increase 2, moving on to my single. And I should be ending this row on a single crochet, so that's a good sign that I've done the right amount of stitches. Again, if we're beginners, we want to go ahead and make sure that we are counting our stitches to make sure that we are ending with the right amount before we move on to our next row. So we're going to go ahead and do that now, and we should have 18 stitches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. We have the right amount of stitches. So we're ready to continue to our row 4. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, pull my yarn, set my yarn up on my hand, and pull out the other stitch marker for the next row. And this one is going to start with one single this time. So we are going to do our single crochet. Don't forget to mark off that first stitch so we know where we're going. And then our next one is an increasing. So remember how I like to count. I'm going to do increase 1, increase 2, and then we go back to a single. So we're going to do a single, but row 3 is where it starts to get a little tricky, because if you look at the pattern, it's a single, increase, single. The next stitch that you'd want to do is going to be another single to start back at the beginning of that pattern. So you're going to do another single. So I call this single 2, pull, and then we go back to our increasing stitch. Increase 1, increase 2, and then again we're doing 2 singles in a row. So 1 single, 2 single, and I'm going to continue this until I get to the end of this row. Okay, now that we are at the end, we are going to go ahead and mark off and count our stitches so we know that we have the right amount. For this, we should have 24. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. We have the right amount of stitches, so we're ready to continue on. I'm going to pull out my stitch marker, hook, set up, and take out. This one starts with another increasing. We mark off. And then 3 singles. So again, we know that we're in a good position because we ended off on our 3 singles. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out, mark off, and let's count and make sure that we have the right amount of stitches. We should have 30. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. We have the right amount of stitches. We'll go ahead and pull out, unmark, put our hook back in, and get ready for row 6. This one is going to start with 2 singles. So again, I'm going to go ahead and do my first single. I'm going to mark off. I'm going to do my second single. And then I do an increase stitch. So increase 1, increase 2, and then it says to do another 2 singles. So we're going to do 1 single, 2 single. But again, that friendly reminder that it does say that we should start with 2 singles, which actually means that we do 4 in the middle of our increasing. That's what helps me remember. So here's another single 1, single 2, and then we go back to our increasing stitch. So increase 1, increase 2, and then I have the 4 singles in between. 1 single, 2 single, 3 single, 4 single. Back to our increase. All right, so we're finishing up on this row, which is again our 2 increase, and then our 2 singles, which again, we're in a good position because we're ending on our 2 singles here. Per the usual, we are going to go ahead and mark off and count our stitches. So at this time, we should be at 36. All right, let's get counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36. We are in a great place. So let's go ahead and start finishing this up. We are now on row 7. So we are going to be doing 1 increasing and 5 singles. So our first one is an increase stitch. Again, per the usual, we're going to go ahead and mark off that first stitch. We're going to finish our increase. And then we're doing 5 singles in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, we're coming towards the end of this row. So we just finished on our 5th single stitch. Again, per the usual, we're going to go ahead and mark off so we can count out our stitches. So we should have 42. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. So we have finished with the first part of this project. So the next thing that we're going to want to do is do a practice fold, because this will be folding in half. So first thing that I would recommend, and this is just something that I do to help reduce how many things I have in the way, I do cut this middle string off a little bit shorter. So I cut it about there, and I'll go ahead and put that to the side so it's not in my way when I'm doing my folding. So once I'm here, we are going to make sure that our stitches are lining up, because we are going to close this, but it is time for us to attach our eyeballs. So we're going to get our eyeballs out of our materials kit, and we are going to go ahead and set those to the side for us. And we are going to have the eyeballs be between rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So between rows 5 and 6, we are going to place our first eyeballs. So let's count that again so we know where we're going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is our 5th row, and this is our 6th, so the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and place my eyeball a little bit to the left. I'm not going to add the backing just yet in case I want to change where it's at, but I'm going to fold it over and see where I like it. And then I'm going to count 5 of the stitches are holes across to know where I'm going to put my next one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and here is 5. I'm going to place my eyeball, and if I think I like it there, which I do, I'm going to go ahead and take the backings and I will attach these here to secure them. The great thing about these eyeballs is if you don't like them, you can just pull off the backs and you can replace them, and you won't have any problems. But this is what our pot sticker should look out for right now. So we're going to go ahead and get started on closing him. So we're going to do the same thing that we've been doing. We're going to pull out the stitch marker a little bit. We're going to put our hook in, and then we're going to take off our next stitch marker. And then we are going to fold him in half. And the next thing that we are going to be doing is closing him up. To close him up, I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to go under this first full stitch that I can get it under, and then I'm going to put it under the stitch that's directly across from it. I'm going to do my over under, and I am going to pull through both of those stitches and do a regular ending of a single crochet. I'm going to do that on this next one, and they should start lining up pretty easily, where you're able to just gently slide them through. I don't need my stitch markers now because I'm not doing any more rows, so that's why I've left mine to the side. But you're going to continue this until you get a good, about say 3/4 of your pot sticker closed before we start looking to add our stuffing. This next stitch, and then I am going to use a stitch marker to hold my piece in place while I stuff him. So I'm gonna go ahead and close that off like that. And then I'm going to get the stuffing that comes with your package. You can pull it open and take it out. I take it out in small pieces just to see how much I want in. But I am going to start stuffing him all the way down as far as I can get him in. And you can stuff it to your preference. I like my keychains a little bit more stuffed. I want them to be firmer. So I'm gonna put quite a bit in here. That might be too much. So let's go ahead and take that last piece out. Okay. So once it's stuffed to the fullness that I like it, I'm gonna take a look and ask myself, do I like where these eyeballs are at? And for myself, I still like them, but again, if you're not, this would be your time to adjust. In order to adjust, you would just undo some of these stitches enough that you can recenter your eyes. But I'm gonna keep mine where they are at. Okay. Now we're ready to keep closing him, and in order to do that, you're going to unhook your stitch marker and put your hook back in. And you are going to finish out the rest of these stitches to close him up. Okay, and this will be our last one on our close. So as you can see now, he is fully closed, and we are going to get started on making the outer edges of him, which are going to make him the pot sticker. Right now, I'm just moving the stuffing around a little bit so I can make it a little bit more even. And I'm going to bring myself back to the side I just left off on. The first thing you're going to do is you're just going to do a single stitch like we did when we were practicing on our blue yarn. So I did a single stitch, and then I'm going to turn it around to face the right side forward. And I'm going to work into that first stitch that was there, and I'm going to do 3 singles. So this is going to be my first single crochet, my next single, and my final one. So this is my third. And then I'm going to move to this next one. Again, I do the same thing to keep track of where I'm at. So I do 1, 2, 3. This brings us to about the end of where we're done crocheting, but we are not done yet. The first thing that we need to do is what's called a slip stitch. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into that same hole that I was just working on. I'm going to bring it through, but instead of doing the stitch that I've been doing, I'm just gonna keep pulling that yarn all the way through like this. So I'm going to pull it through like that. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut maybe you know, 6 to 12 inches. I like to be a little bit safe, and I cut a little bit on the longer side. So I'm gonna cut, and I'm just going to pull through. So this is called a slip stitch. And this is how it helps you close your projects. So I went ahead and I closed it, and then this is where our sewing needle is going to come in. Each of you has a sewing needle that has a pretty big eye. So you're gonna go ahead and stick your yarn through the eye. It might fray a little bit, that's okay. We'll go ahead and pull it through. And then you want to tuck in that tail. I'm going to put it through the one next to it and tie it through, which will put me into the back. And then once I'm in the back, I'm going to try to put it through a couple of different stitches. So I'm going to pull it through there. I'm going to do another one through here. And then I'm actually going to leave that there. I think that I'm okay with that. But if you want it more secure, you can keep putting it through some of the different spots in the back, but just be careful at how far you put it because it can leave lines. You'll go ahead and cut it off, and then you're going to kind of just massage your piece to make sure that the ending gets stuck somewhere in there. So your final product should look like this little cutie. But if you would like to make him into a keychain, you do have keychains within your materials, and you can decide where you want to attach him. So I want mine up here at the top. So I'm going to put him through one of my stitches on the top section. However, you can also put it on the side. You can put it really wherever you'd like it to be. It's up to you. But this is our keychain.